Good evening, everyone. We're going to give it another minute or so just to make sure that we get everyone in from the waiting room, and then we'll do some quick introductions and get right into tonight's business. So give us another minute, and then we'll get moving on. Thank you for being here. All right. All right. Well, we're going to jump right in and welcome to everyone this evening. Give me a thumbs up, Mr. Chavez or team, if you can hear me loud and clear. All right.
We can hear you.
Just checking technology. A little while ago, we had a power outage here, so we're just trying to make sure that we're queued up. I want to start by welcoming and thanking you for joining us tonight and what we call this very timely update around SB 328 late start and how that might impact you as community members, parents, employees, managers, students as well. But before we get into any of that, I'm Dr. Marcus Fuentes, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. I would like to just make sure that I take time to welcome those individuals who have been key in leading this effort. But right before that, I'm going to turn it over real quickly for a few words. Let's see here. Our administrator in charge for the month is Dr. Sandra Rodriguez. Her month is coming to an end, and then I'll be up in February. So I'm going to turn it over right now to Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez, take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Fuentes. It's always a pleasure to be in front of our community, and we're really very much appreciative of your time today that you take to learn more about the late start. I want to stress that this was not something that we really desired to get ourselves into. This is something that we have to be in compliance with as it is dictated by law. I'd like to thank Dr. Fuentes and Sam Precy for their leadership. As this is not an easy task to be able to arrange all of the town hall meetings, lots of stakeholder input, and then to Maria Espinoza, who has been tirelessly trying to figure out how are we going to manage to transport the students with this new schedule. So this is definitely a team effort. I want to thank all of you for being here. I also want to thank one of our other administrators in charge, Mrs. Anna Applegate. I'm not sure if she's on, but the three of us, Dr. Fuentes, Mrs. Applegate, and I, have led the district since July, and we're very honored and privileged to be able to do that. So thank you very much for being here with us today, and we hope that you get the valuable information that you need in order to make decisions that you have to make for the impending school year. Again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Dr. Fuentes, for your leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. So we won't go down the Brady Bunch screen tonight to make sure that we introduce all of our team members that are here tonight because we want to honor everyone's time. So I'll give a big thank you to our board of trustees who've been 100% behind us leading this effort, our parents that are here tonight, making sure that you are supportive of what we're trying to do as we best support you, our community members, our scholars as well, our managers here that will be responsible for the implementation process and have been responsible for getting us to this point, our managers that are here tonight with us, our educators and our staff too that work in this district, those that are going to be instrumental in rolling this out or implementation, and the committee, the task force committee, which we'll be talking about here shortly, of educators, staff, parents, and community members. Thank you for your time and your effort here. And then we couldn't do this without our union leaders. SBTA, Ashley Alcala, CSEA, Oni Jimenez, CWA, Ms. Teresa Hunter, and SBPOA as well, Mr. Daniel Martinez. So I want to thank everyone who has been instrumental in this and will continue to play a major role moving forward. With that being said, we're going to do a quick housekeeping around questions and answers and around using the chat. And so I'm going to turn it over right now to Ms. Beatrice Gonzalez and her wonderful, excellent team and communications for job well done, and to give us some directions on how to make sure that we engage properly tonight. Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes a todos. Antes de comenzar, para las personas que están interesadas o necesitan interpretación en español, si están utilizando un teléfono inteligente o una tableta, pueden oprimir los tres puntitos como ven aquí en la pantalla. Opriman la opción de lenguaje de interpretación, Language Interpretation. Después van a seleccionar el idioma Spanish y desliza el botón de Mute Original Audio. Para las personas que están en computadora, en la parte de abajo de su pantalla pueden buscar el icono del globo. Seleccionen el idioma Spanish, español, y nuevamente seleccionen Mute Original Audio.
So welcome everyone. Good evening. We're here to hear from you and obviously to provide you information, but we want to hear from you. We believe that your voice is important. So we have multiple opportunities to do that. So during the presentation, you can use the chat to provide comments or ask questions. And we're also going to have live questions and answers following the presentation. So again, we definitely want to hear from you, and the chat is an option for you to ask those questions. If there's something personal, we don't want your personal information on this chat. So we ask that you please text whatever question you have to the number provided here, 909-578-0579, and make sure that you include your question as well as your child's name and school. And then that way we can definitely call you back. You don't have to provide a callback number because that automatically goes into that text message when you send it. So again, this is another opportunity for you to voice any questions, any concerns that you may have. And this goes directly to my number. So then I will guarantee that we will definitely call you back. So again, multiple opportunities to hear your voice. We'll take live questions at the end as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to call me or feel free to place your questions in the chat. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We're going to jump right in here. Before we continue to move forward, I want to focus our attention on why we are here and how we've gotten to this point and the basics for excellence. These tenets or these expectations, if you will, or these standards are a way in which we work together and how we honor one another's perspectives, leadership, and thoughts as we work to produce exemplary outcomes for our district. And the one at the top of the page, focus on results together, has been it's been used to get us to this point and will continue to help us move forward. As you know, we've been embarking on looking at late start and having our scholars come to school at a later time at the secondary level for a few years, starting with Dr. Volkemer, right? Doing that work a few years ago, and the committee work and all of the surveys that have gone into this into this venture, if you will, and all of the feedback that we've gotten and the presentations. We've gotten to this point because we've been working together. We've listened, you've heard us, and we've taken feedback. You've heard us as well. And we've made some decisions, and our board has made some decisions to get us to this point. So focusing on results together is how we've gotten here and how we'll move forward together successfully. Next slide, please. And so here are our objectives tonight. We want to provide a very high level yet thorough update on Senate Bill 328 and late start and what that means for our district or your family or your employment or your day-to-day work schedules. We want to make sure that we're at a starting point of communicating well what SB 328 is all about. We'll touch on the Late Start Task Force that got us to this point. We'll also talk about the SB 328 requirements. And as Dr. Rodriguez stated earlier, this is mandated by the state of California and is not something that we just cooked up or came up with. We are required to implement. We'll also share the Late Start survey results and those results that we gained from the community, our staff, our managers, even our students back in late 2022. And those results were shared with the board as well. So we'll touch on those. And then we'll share the bell schedule options that our board gave us direction on to move forward with and to begin to negotiate the effects with our union groups. And then finally, we'll discuss implementation timeline, how that'll impact the district and yourselves. Next slide, please. And so here's a little bit of information on how we got here, the working together. In 2019, there was a task force convened by Harold Volkemer, our former deputy superintendent, that took a close look at the impact or the effects of having our secondary students start school at a later time. And there was a lot of information gleaned from that task force about the benefits of having our secondary students start at a later time. And that information even informed our most recent task force. And moving on over to 2020, there was a recommendation to the board that would provide bell schedules that would coincide with later start times. And our board took a look at that information. No implementation at that time was decided upon because we still had time, according to the state of California, to implement such a mandate. And then moving on over to 2022, we did reconvene the task force, which consisted of our educators, our staff, our community members, parents, to talk about the implementation of SB 328 and the late start requirements and what would be beneficial to the community, what would be beneficial to our organization, the district. And I can tell you this, there was a lot of feedback, a lot of input gathered. Our board required us to go the extra mile before we implemented any schedule. So we feel confident that we heard our community, that we heard our employees, and that we made the best decision based on the needs of the whole, right? And then next year, or this year, sorry, in July of this year, we have to go full implementation of starting our secondary students later on in the morning. Middle school, we'll get into that. Middle school no earlier than 8 o'clock, and high school no earlier than 8:30. And elementary school will stay the same, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Just wanted to give you a historical view of how we got here. We didn't get here just by making rash decisions, but well thought out processes have been in place to get us to where we are tonight. Next slide. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Sam Priestley to take us through some of the requirements.
Thank you, Dr. Funchess. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So the requirements for Senate Bill 328, the late start or pupil start time, as Dr. Funchess had mentioned, does have two requirements in that. And it says that middle school shall start no earlier than 8 a.m. and high school shall start no earlier than 8:30 a.m. There's no requirement for elementary start time. So our elementaries are going to continue to start at 8:50 as they are today, moving into next year. And then at the start of next year, we will have these start times for middle school and high school. The implementation for the Senate Bill 328, as Dr. Funchess has stated earlier, for us, since we had a collective bargaining agreement that had an expiration date of July 1, 2023, it allowed us the ability to delay that start. We knew it was going to be a significant impact to the district, to staff, and to our parents and community. So we extended it out to that date. So our start for late start will be July 31, 2023, the first day of our next school year. Next slide. Also, as Dr. Funches had stated, we got a lot of feedback. We had about a 35% response rate from our final survey, and we had multiple surveys throughout those different phases of our late start program. Our latest survey occurred in October. It ran for 15 days from October 7th through the 21st. We did have 18,541 responses from that survey, and that is from our parents and our certificated staff and our classified staff. And we broke them down. We looked at it through all different ways as far as bus riders. We looked at classified. We looked at certificated, the breakdowns by individual option to see what was the highest rated option. As you can see, we had about 13,904 parents and guardians that responded, very high number. Almost close to 100% of our certificated staff coming in just under 3,000, and a very high percentage of our classified staff as well. So it was a very good response rate. 35% may not sound like a high response rate for a survey, but a very good response rate runs in the 15% to 20%. A typical response rate for surveys is about 10%. So we far exceeded those thresholds coming in with a 35. Next slide, please. So after calling all that information, we looked at what was the most highest rated option. And overwhelmingly, we had option 3 was the choice. And you can see that's going to be our next year's bell schedule. Elementaries will be 8:50 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Middle school will be 8 a.m. to 2:31 p.m. And high schools will be 8:30 a.m. to 3:35 p.m. Next slide. And at this point, I'll turn it over to our Director of Transportation, Maria Espinosa.
Thank you, Sam. Good afternoon, SBC USD community and educational partners. I am Maria Espinosa. I'm your Director of Student Transportation. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Now, option 3. With option 3, the logistics of busing is going to change. Currently, our bus schedules are tiered so that the first leg of service consists of a middle school or high school run, followed by an elementary leg of service, and this happens both morning and afternoon. With this schedule, the start and end times are very close together, therefore we can no longer tier busing. Now, in anticipation of potential change in growth in service, we placed a request for busing proposal in early August. 3 vendors responded: Durham, who is our current school bus provider, First Student, who was our previous provider about 11 years ago, and Zoom, who is fairly new to the school bus industry. However, they are the current provider for Los Angeles Unified. So they have a very significantly large contract there and doing extremely well. In addition, we heard community feedback loud and clear and took advantage of this opportunity to go out for bid. So we will have new buses, all with air conditioning, both for our special ed scholars and our gen ed scholars. We will have new technology as well, such as a parent app, so you can check on your child's status of your bus. For our special need parents, our drivers will have tablets so that when they show up to pick up their child, there will be an image, whatever image we have in our school database, the driver will have it as well, so we can see who we're picking up, making sure we're picking up the right child and delivering him to the correct location. And in addition, we will grow from our current 196 bus routes to approximately 347. Next slide, please. So this takes us to next steps. During the December 13th board meeting, we came before the board and your late start task force presented a lot of the similar material that you're seeing before you today. And the board gave us direction to move forward with option 3. So we quickly moved into action. During the January 17th board meeting, contracts were awarded to all 3 vendors. I have already met with all 3. We have ensured action plans are in place. They are all scheduled standing meetings. We're going to make sure that we are on track, and it's incredibly important to me that we have very successful startup. In addition, we have started negotiations with our labor partners. In fact, I want to echo Dr. Funches' sentiments. Our labor leaders were very active participants in the late start task force. And then we feel communication is key, and we want our community and educational partners to be in the know. Therefore, this is the first of 2 town hall meetings where we have the opportunity to discuss Late Start and answer any questions you may have or take feedback from our community. In addition, an aggressive communication plan has started and will continue through the start of the school year, which this particular year happens to be on Monday, July 31st. Next slide, please. So we want to hear from you. We have various district leaders on this forum present to answer any questions or provide any feedback relevant to SB 328 and next year's schedules. And to monitor or moderate this forum, Mr. Chavez is going to kick us off so we can answer any questions that might be in the chat.
Good afternoon. I'm Luis Chavez, Director of Employee Relations for our district, and I'm here to answer, monitor the questions and ask the questions, and some of the members of our team answer depending on the question. The only question that we have so far is one that is not related to SB 328. That is related to when is the district going back to regular standard schedule time from September to June. I can tell you at this time there is no plans of changing. It's the calendars. We have a committee that meets every year to discuss the calendars, and then they will be able to work on determining when is the start dates and vacation days, et cetera, et cetera. So at this time, there is no intention to change any of the, to go back to September to June. We have Mickey Alexander. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Hi, thank you for answering my question that I'm about to ask. My question is for the Transportation Department. Just to better understand the presentation that you just gave, all 3 transportation busing won the award, and are you going to tier those, or is it going to be like this one got elementary, this one got high school, this one got middle school? How does that look, and how's it going to work?
That's an answer for Maria Espinosa.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Great question. Yes. So how the contracts were awarded, Durham is going to keep all of elementary special ed busing. Zoom will do secondary special ed busing, and First Student will provide services for all gen ed, K-12 gen ed busing.
Okay. And we have a question from Carolyn Husband. She says, what about late start days? Will they still happen? How much later will they start? And Dr. Funches?
Thank you, Luis. And I believe, Ms. Husband, you are speaking about our Monday early release late start day that we have now. We call our MOU or Professional Development Day. I will answer that question, and I hope that's the question. Like this, we are currently negotiating how that might look, but it may look similar to what it is now, right? It may look very similar to what it is now because the current schedules align with late start, but that's at the negotiations table with our labor partners with the SBTA. Great question.
Yes, and the question was related to the same Trinket Queensbury. She's asking, will there still be late start for middle school and high school and a minimum day for elementary? So Dr. Funches just answered that question, yes, that we're still in the negotiations tables with our unions, and that will determine if it continues the way it is, or we'll change those late start or minimum days.
Thank you.
Again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand, and raising your hand is on the bottom on reactions, and you just raise your hand, or type your question on in the chat so we can address your question. I guess we're very clear because there are no questions. Let me see. Oh, there's one. Hold on. Will there be additional costs for the buses, and where does that money come from? And Maria Espinosa, you want to answer that question?
Yes, so our transportation budget will increase to approximately $46 million. Currently it's 22, so obviously with the growth in service, there will be an increase. One subsidy that is coming in the near future, there is a new Assembly Bill 858 that offers some supplemental funding for transportation. So that'll help offset some of the increase in costs for busing.
Yes,
Great
Thank you.
question. Thank you.
great question. Thank you, Marie. And we have another question from Karina Ripley, and she says, what are the time frames again, please? I have to clarify, are those clarifying the time frames, the schedules for school? So the time frame for implementation, what is your question? Can you clarify? Karina Ripley? Well, if you're talking about the schedules for elementary, middle school, and high school, middle school will start at 8 in the morning. High school will start at 8:30 in the morning, and elementary school will start at 8:50.
And we can always go back to that other slide should we need to, just to get a visual.
Yes.
That's always right there. Thank you.
Yep. There is another question from Nancy Sanchez. Will it continue to be free busing for our students? Again, Marie?
Great question. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That doesn't change.
Thank you, Marie. Nancy Mendez, will this affect the budget for field trips?
So if I can just jump in here real quick.
Yes.
The goal is to continue to give our scholars opportunities to go on field trips. So I think that's what you might be getting at. We want to continue to give our young people opportunities to get out and go and go on field trips and other trips that get them out of the city and opportunities to see other things, right? And take advantage of those things. So we're going to continue that.
Thank you, Dr. Funches. Again, if you have any other questions, please ask in the chat or raise your hand. I have a question from Sonia B. Will staff work hours be modified for staff in middle and or high schools? We are currently engaged in negotiations with our unions. All of this has to be negotiated with different unions, and it's we cannot give a lot of information about what are the changes, but it's more likely that for teachers will change the schedules, and some of the classified employees also will be affected with changing the schedules. Deandra Torres says, I have 2 children, one in elementary and one going to high school. I am very concerned that the end times are the same. We all know San Bernardino is not a great place to leave your child while they wait for pickup. Why was the timing not allotted to allow time for single parents to be able to pick up both their children without the end of school time running into the other times? Sam, can you address the concern?
Well, that's an interesting one. I know we had a lot of discussions regarding the different types of options and what would be most appealing and what would be, meet the safety factor. We talked a little bit about the traffic situations as far as the release times. This was the option that the committee felt was going to be, or the 3 options that we presented felt like those were going to be the 3 viable options based on a lot of the different considerations that we took into account.
Yes.
If I can jump in too there, Mr. Precy, thank you for that answer. I will ask Ms. Torres, I think that was Ms. Torres, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're going to do is see how we can best address safety concerns. So if you leave your name or email or call the number, we'll make sure that we engage you in any process moving forward, or any other parents that want to give us feedback around the safety. And we have an excellent manager, Mr. Vatier. He'll be leading some of that work. He's on the call too. We'll be taking a look at student safety before and after school and what supports we might be able to provide there. So you'll be integral to that, and you can leave your contact information, and we'll make sure that you are part of that process.
I do want to add, Dr. Frenches, because we know that there may be some challenges, and that's why we are continuing to offer and prioritize our before and after school programs. So if there is some difficulty with picking up children at a certain time, they can be part of CAPS. They can be picked up early if they need to only stay for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. There is flexibility for that, as well as in the morning. And so if a student needs to continue to have supervision before or after school because of inability to pick up and drop off, CAPS will continue to be available before and after school for those families who have concerns with picking up or dropping off their children at a certain time.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. I appreciate that follow-up. If I can go back real quick, Mr. Chavez, I talked about field trips, but I saw Kimber Sargent on the line, and I'd love for her to chime in there.
Yes, absolutely. Ms. Sargent?
Good evening. I apologize. I'm on the road, but I just want to make sure I touch base with those who are joining us tonight. Our educational field trip budget is separate from our transportation budget within our LCAP. So any costs that are incurred as a part of our late start will not affect the ability for our schools to offer those field trips to our students.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sargent. There is a question, it's not related to SB 328. It's how did you come to the decision of to have the next school year starting in July? Again, there is a committee that is joins every year to discuss the start times and times of the school year, where they look into testing times, semester exams, everything that is related to the educational program, and they come up with a schedule. The calendar. For the last years, we have started in the first week of August, and this time July 1st is the Monday, so that's when we're going to start the school year for this time. It changes every year in a couple of days here and there, so just make sure that you know that it's a committee that works with that.
And Mr. Chavez, I will just give a quick follow-up to that. We are re-examining that. We may not be able to change it, but we are examining that right now with our committee and our union groups just to see if there's anything we can do about that date. But Mr. Chavez is right. There's a lot of work that goes into that. So thank you, everyone.
Yes. Before I continue with the other questions, again, Ms. Mickey Alexander, you raise your hand.
Yes, I have a lot of questions. It's all good. So thank you for taking my question again. So I have a two-part question. One is for CAPS. So listening earlier, transportation basically said that their budget went up. So what is the effects of the budget going to be with CAPS, especially that you guys just said that you're going to, I guess, prepare to have this, late and early start with the kids and being able to do that. And is CAPS throughout entire San Bernardino County? Is there schools that don't have that? And if they don't have that, what are we doing about those schools that don't have that, especially with this change with working parents? So that's question one. And then question two was more about the late start. And I guess this is to the other gentleman that was talking. So what is a time frame on when everybody's going to come together as far as late start? So do we have to wait until the end to find out if the labor unions are going to come to the table with late start, or is this something that is on the forefront and we're actually having those negotiations right now and we'll know within the next month? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question. So the first question about CAPS is Ms. Ann Pearson here?
I'll answer the question.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez.
Wonderful. So thanks for the question, Ms. Alexander. We're very fortunate that the state of California has allotted and prioritized before and after school programs, and they put their money where their mouth is. And so over the last couple of years, we have experienced increase in funding for our before and after school programs. That has allowed us to expand our programs. In fact, we've already tripled the number of students that we serve in our before and after school program. And our goal is to be able to provide programming for any student who wants it at any time. And so the state has increased their funds to the district for its allocation. Depending on, which district that you're from, it could be anywhere from 30 to 60 million. So we have about $59 million that's coming into the district for specifically our extended learning before and after school programs. So that's how we're expanding it. In addition, those programs that we have are only for San Bernardino City Unified School District campuses. So any school that the district serves within the San Bernardino and Highland area. Our after-school program grants do not apply to any schools in the county. They're only specific to our school district. And so we are expanding the programs for before school for our high schools because we know of late start and the need to have the supervision for our students. We will prioritize for any student that let's say is receiving transportation and is going to get to school earlier so that kids are supervised. But the monies are there for us to utilize, and our CAPS department has done a great job of providing more experiences. In fact, our CAPS program pretty much runs all year long during any breaks that we have. So spring break, winter break, Thanksgiving break, summer break, we're still running our after school before our CAPS program. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And the second question, it was me that said that we're negotiating with the unions. The late start is going to happen. We have to be changing because it's the law. The only thing that we do is negotiate with the unions how this affects our employees. And the negotiations go over how is it affecting the employees and how we have to be, what do we have to be doing to change their schedules? So that's the type of the negotiation. So I cannot go in details, but that's in general terms. What happens is the district, the board decided to start the process of changing the schedules for middle school and high school. So then we have to be communicating with the unions and negotiating how this affects their employees and how we're going to be working on implementing these changes in our district. Okay. And we have another question from Julie Esparza. She says, currently my kids do not qualify for transportation because they are not attending their home school. However, this change impacts my ability to drop them off. Can they now be considered for busing to and from Cajon High School? Marie, can you respond?
Yes, thank you, Luis. So board policy with regards to eligibility has not changed. If they don't currently qualify for busing, the board policy and programs haven't changed, just the bell schedules. Now, I'm not sure if you know about the MTC program. We do have an MTC program where if there's an existing bus stop and there's space available, you could apply for an empty seat, and those are typically issued out in September, and those are on a first come, first served basis, and you would facilitate that through Cajon directly.
Yes, thank you, Marie. And if you have any more questions about transportation specifically, you can ask the questions to transportation, and they will get that information for you. We have another question that says, will the CAPS program still be available? And yes, CAPS and Sunrise will be available at all our schools, as Dr. Rodriguez established. So yes, CAPS and Sunrise will be available to all our schools for all our students.
I just want to mention, Mr. Chavez, it is not an automatic. You will have to enroll your child in our programming because not every student wants to be there. So we want to make sure that the parent is aware and has given permission for their child to participate in our before and after school programs, or either one or both. But you will have to sign up with that at your local campus.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Sonia B asked, what about zero period for middle and high school kids? Will it still start at 6:20 a.m.? Go ahead, Dr. Funches.
At this time, one of the things that is part of the negotiations process is start times and school schedules, right? Bell schedules for the individual schools and then how we make decisions around that. So we're not able to answer that question right now because I know that some high schools and are looking at how they can bring kids in at zero period. It may not be that early, but that's a work in progress. And hopefully by the March meeting, we'll have a little bit more information there as we work with our high school principals, high school teams, and even make sure that we're in line with what the state requirements are for ADA or attendance, as well as making sure that we can provide credits for certain times of the morning. That's a long way to say it's still a work in progress, so be patient with us. Thank you.
So another question for CAPS is Nancy Sanchez asked, CAPS has a limited space and some are on a waiting list. Will that be accommodated?
Yes, we're actually working on bringing on another provider to provide us with extra people. So as we have increases in enrollment from day to day, that we're able to bring in these additional folks. So we understand that there may have been some waiting lists. If you continue to be on one, please give us a call. We have folks online now. There shouldn't be waiting lists at this time. We're already back, we're starting February. So please let us know and that way we can work on it. Again, if there's a waiting list, if you signed in today and you want to start tomorrow, that may be problematic because we also have to make sure that your student has the necessary nutritional supplements. And so those things have to be ordered. So, you know, there is some time for us to actually go through the enrollment process, but that shouldn't be happening. But yes, we will be adding additional providers so that we have more staff to accommodate the need.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Julia Esparza says, I apologize if this question was already addressed. How do these changes affect sports and other after-school events?
I can answer that. I'm in charge of athletics.
Yes.
So part of it will make some adjustments as far as the start time for practices, as well as it may affect the time where students have to leave school in order to participate in a competition. We do want to make sure that everybody understands that this time change is something that is happening across California. So all high schools in the state of California have to adhere to a late start. So we're all going through this issue as far as how it will affect athletics. Our facilities team is working very diligently to make sure that we have adequate lighting for our athletic facilities to make sure that our campuses are safe for competition. And so we're working on getting that in place as well. But yes, it will affect athletics as far as the time. It will probably be dark when students are getting out of practice. There may be practices that happen before school. And so there's going to be a lot of latitude around what that looks like at our schools. And so we will be working with our high school principals as well as our athletic directors to put together what that practice schedule will look like, as well as what it will look like for competition. But again, those are more localized decisions. So you will want to work with your principal, your high school principals in order to find out more about what the timing for practices and meets will be. But yes, all schools in the state of California that are high school level are experiencing this. And so yes, it will affect our after school athletics.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Julia Esparza asked, will Sunrise be available on all high schools and middle schools campuses as well?
Yes, we are making arrangements for that to happen. Because those schools historically started early, 7:30, 7:45, 7:15, we didn't have a need for Sunrise, but we are preparing to have Sunrise both at high school and middle school, because we do know that some parents have to drop off their children at 7:30. There will be programming for them for homework, clubs, etc., where we will have supervision for them while they're on campus.
Okay. The last question that we have in the chat is Roberta Josi. She says, did SBCUSD receive any feedback from other districts on how the new bill has impacted their districts?
I'll jump in here and then I'll see if Sam and or Marie has anything else. As you know, in our district, transportation and such plays a major role in what we do to get our students to school on time each day. And so as we reached out to other districts like Riverside, Redlands, Fontana, other districts, what we found is they implemented SB 328 without much community input. And so with that being said, our board required us to get community input from start to finish. So in their implementation, several districts said you have to keep a close eye on students still getting to school later, right? And making sure that you have contingency plans around that. But they also said a few things just about parent and community input or feedback. And that was it. That was the gist of it. But we've done an excellent job getting a lot of feedback so that we can move forward. Sam and or Marie, anything to add to that?
Well, if I may, I think one of the differences or the most significant differences between San Bernardino City Unified and our neighboring school districts is that we offer a lot of service where other districts don't. Most districts just offer mandated services, which is for special ed. So when you're only offering special needs busing, it gives some flexibility with the adjustment of bell schedules. Unlike our district, we do have a large transportation program and we offer a lot of services to our students. So that was just a huge factor in how I went about this because busing is big. 19% of our student population is on a bus in this district. So it's an important component to the educational process.
And I just want to add to that, Marie, if you don't mind. Our board has made a commitment that they believe and we believe that transportation is important for our students because of our community, because we know that parents work, we know that there may be some concerns as far as being able to even have access to a vehicle. So our board has made a concerted effort to provide transportation within the limits that we have within board policy, free of charge to our students who qualify. Other districts do not do that. We have neighboring districts that do not offer transportation, as Mrs. Espinoza had mentioned, really just for special education, but we do offer it for some of our special programs. We offer it for special ed. We also offer it for gen ed. So that complicates, it's a nuance that we have to take into account. And so, Dr. Funchess, Mr. Precy and team, we're kind of late in implementing this because, it is complicated. Other districts have already started this process. Other districts have just told their families, this is when it's starting, this is when it's going to be, without really any input. For us in our district, we consider your input and your voice important because you're partners with us. And so we've spent pretty much over a year and a half getting this information, doing surveys, just to kind of get the feeling of where everyone was at in this process. Again, we didn't have a choice whether to implement this or not. We had to. It's just a matter of, how do we make sure that everything is done to meet the needs of the majority of folks? We're not going to make everybody happy, but we did our best to make sure that we had the best interests of our families and students in mind. So this has taken a long time and have really involved many people. And so this is not something that we just kind of came to in a rushed manner. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that because other school districts do not offer all the things that we do. And because of that, it does complicate some of the actions that we take.
Thank you, Maria and Dr. Rodriguez. We have a question from Sonia B. Will the new start times also affect virtual academy?
Yes.
Dr. Funches, you're gonna be, could you answer it?
So one of the things that we're doing right now with SBTA and the Virtual Academy team is taking a look at their schedules and see how to align ourselves with the new law. And we should have more information coming soon about that. So it'll take effect at the Virtual Academy as well. But what the schedules might be is yet to be determined. So thank you for being patient with us there.
Yes. Julia Esparza asked, when will Sunrise CAPS applications will be available for next school year? Do you have an idea on how early the Sunrise programs will be available? Asking for working parents with multiple stops each morning. Thank you for all the addressing these concerns.
So typically our Sunrise programs start about an hour before school starts. And so we will be looking at that. Part of the after-school program, it's called the Extended Learning Opportunity Program Grant, requires us to have 10 hours of school that includes actual school and the after-school program. So depending on the start and end time of the school day, we have to make up the difference so that we can be in compliance with a 10-hour day. So typically it's, an hour and a half before school, an hour and a half after school. And so we'll work through that. As far as the applications will be, we're trying to put them on in our enrollment packets, as well as a data confirmation system that you utilize when you enroll your student in Aries. And so we're trying to make it very easy for you to just kind of click a button to be able to enroll your child, but more information will come as we get closer to the summer.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Adrian Rodriguez asked, transportation is only offered to those who are a far distance from their home school. What about those who are a mile away and walk? It is not safe.
So I will address this question.
Yes, thank you, Marie.
So Mr. Rodriguez, I understand and I hear where you're coming from. Our board policy for transportation indicates that we offer busing to those elementary students that live beyond the 1.5 miles from their home school. Middle school is 2.5 miles and high school is 3.5 miles. And I'll tell you what I tell all my parents, because our parameters haven't changed, just our schedules. We do have the empty seat program, and if there are empty seats available, I always encourage my parents, put in your applications early to your school site. Once we have done head counts and we know how many seats are available, we let the school site know and they issue those seats to students. So I would highly encourage you to get that application in early to your school site for the new school year.
Thank you, Marie. And that was the last question. Again, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand or you can just type it, write it in the chat.
As we're waiting for those, I do see Miss Anna Applegate. If she had anything that she wanted to chime in on, please feel free, Anna, so that we'll have that voice from Ed Services and anything that we need to express there. As we
Thank you, Dr. Funches. No, nothing in particular, just in awe of all the work that's been done and all the feedback that we've received from everybody. Very encouraging. So thank you so much to you and the team and everybody for all the hard work. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. We're going to start looking at winding down here. We'll take a look at, and we'll go back to the other slide to show the middle and high school times. If we could just toggle back there. Thank you. We will have another late start update, and we'll probably be a little bit more specific and detailed around next steps at that time in March. The date is not yet determined as we have a few things to implement before then, but that information will be coming soon. We don't want to leave here without leaving any questions unanswered. However, Ms. Beatrice Gonzalez and her team did put some information out. If you have questions, you can follow up and we'll follow up with you.
Yeah. Mirna Velasquez asked about the time. So elementary school is at 8:50, middle school will start at 8 a.m. and high school is at 8:30. And we have Mickey Alexander that raised her hand.
Yes, it's me once again.
No problem.
One of the questions and some of the feedback, community feedback, parent feedback that I've been hearing has been around safety. So that makes me a little bit concerned. So one of the main questions I think that made me concerned is from one of the parents that was asking about, especially busing if, with the 1 mile and 2 mile, 3 mile, whatnot. What do parents or the community, what do we need to do to adjust those times? Is it something that we need to go to the district with? Is it because that's something that, especially with these times being later and it being, darker, whether it be in the morning or at night, is this something that we need to take to the district, or is this something that, since it's being brought up in this conversation, that you guys can take to the district? Because by all means, I'll take it to the district. I have no problems with that whatsoever. So what needs to happen? Because basically what I'm saying is this is a concern that I've heard from a lot of parents looking in the chat.
Right. So I'm just going to jump in here and say, this is an area of concern for us all. Here in the coming weeks, I'll say, we will convene a group around safety, and we will ask for input as well from yourself or other parents that want to help us with that. So it's something that we're very aware of, and we want to put some things in place for next year. Safety is our concern, and it's #1 priority. So with that being said, look for that information, and I have your information here. You'll be one of the first ones we reach out to support us in this endeavor moving forward. Okay.
Hey, and Dr. Funches, I just wanted to let you know that Miss Alexander has a blog, a radio show, I think, and a YouTube channel.
Excellent.
So if we ever need some additional support in getting the word out, she's our person.
Yeah, thank you for that. We have a question from Alma Vasquez. She says, will there be more police presence around the schools with the late sports clubs or students who stay at CAPS?
Within our CAPS program, we are looking at having security officers at our campuses, especially at the high school and middle school, to make sure that we have supervision. And then our police force is 24/7. So we will continue to have a presence in the community and making sure that our school police are on patrol around our campuses.
Yes, and Julia Esparza is asking at this time, please confirm at this time the next school year will be in July 1st. Yes, and if you have more information in our website, there is the calendars that have been approved, and we have the calendars for this year and the next school year currently. So that is from 2023-24 and from 24-25. So just be aware of that. So you can go into our website and just get the calendars that have been approved.
So Luis, just for the record, it's not July 1st, it's July 31st.
July 31st, sorry, July 31st.
Thank you.
All right.
And this says, Sonia B is making a comment. It says, I feel there is a safety concern currently having students in 0 period 620 is not safe time for schools to start, especially since it's still dark and there is not a lot of staff on campus. I'm glad they will start later next school year. So thank you for that input. And we have parents that are interested in participating in that safety committee when it's available. So we will reach out to you. We will contact, we have your information here, and we will contact you to engage you in that endeavor.
I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I want to thank our team for their availability. and all the work that has gone into this and will continue as we put our students first, roll this out in a way that's very effective and in a way that makes sure that we are doing things efficiently in light of changing schedules, work times, getting dark, and all those things. So we appreciate the feedback tonight. Your voice is important, as well as the input that you provided as we move forward. If we can't get to some of these questions tonight, we'll make sure that someone follows up with you to answer those questions. Anything else, Mr. Chavez or Ms. Gonzalez, on the follow-ups or questions?
There is one question, the last that they came up. It says, is the district working with the cities for the safety of our children?
Yeah, I'll answer that.
I can take that. Thanks, Nancy. Eric Batir, the Safety and Emergency Manager for the district. We are working with our community partners to make sure that the areas around the schools are well lit. We're changing traffic light times and street light signals and stuff to make sure that the early morning hours and the dusk is accounted for, and also adjusting the times for the crossing guards that are out at the schools. So we are looking at that from to and from school is our key. We want to make sure that the minute our kiddos leave their house that they're safe until they arrive at our campus, and back the other way as well. So we are looking at the full path of travel there. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Batir. Appreciate that, sir.
And thank you for your comments and stating that this meeting has been informative. We're here to help and to listen to you and to try to answer your questions. And
all right.
And people that want to participate in the safety committee, yes, we'll take your information and we'll engage you. I think those are the questions that we have, Dr. Funches. I don't see any more questions, or I don't know if Dr. Gonzalez has any questions.
No, we're all clear. Thank you.
All right. Well, as always, everyone be safe, enjoy your families, and have a great night. And thank you once again for all of your support, your feedback, your input, and your leadership as we move forward with this mandate. Thank you very much. And on behalf of San Bernardino City Unified School District, our executive cabinet team, and all of our management team and educators and staff, have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Dr. Funches, could I add something real quick?
Yes.
For our volunteer workers,
Yes.
I just want you guys all to know that in order for you to share this information with your with the parents at your site, there is going to be a YouTube link that's going to be available, because I know you may have additional questions being asked. So we will provide you with the YouTube link that is a recording of basically what all the information that took place today. So thank you all for being here.